There are two types of people that seem to find this series. There are the handful of you that repeatedly drop by to compare what I've thrown together and gain whatever tuning knowledge you can. And then there are people that flow in that can't beat the trial and are desperately looking for the easy way out. This week caters to the latter audience, and as you can expect from the title and the thumbnail, there will be no racing etiquette, or following the racing line, or strategizing the best way to get around the track through tuning and smart driving. The PI system is a good system, but trying to homologate hundreds of cars to make them roughly the same pace is a difficult job. There are a handful of glaring flaws with it, and one of them is that it's built around the assumption that you will be using the vehicle on road surfaces. The off-road tracks allow for goofy builds that otherwise wouldn't be viable, usually through some combination of all-wheel drive, a lack of handling competency, ancient tire technology, and a power-to-weight ratio that resembles what A or S class cars have. Right now you're looking at what I would consider the sensible option of the week. Both of the all-wheel drive Celicas have a flat-4 non-turbo engine swap that allows for the addition of a centrifugal supercharger, another tool used to cheat the PI system. I would show you how to build one, but it's literally that simple. The only additions aside from power that you should subscribe to would be wider rear tires and a transmission upgrade. The tires lower the PI on all-wheel drive cars, and either a sport or race trans will ensure that the supercharged power band is being used as efficiently as possible. Sway bars and a diff could also be upgraded, if so desired. The 92 Celica gets a much better power to weight ratio when it's all said and done, but the 94 is a freebie at the start of the game. Either one will get you an easy first place on the trial. If that was all, it would be a very short episode. I had already built and used the 92 Celica during the 90s week during Season 2, and I knew that the other Celica wouldn't be as fast in a straight line. I went searching for something else to build. I was hoping that the Subaru Legacy had the same engine swap, but I came out of that empty-handed. While you can throw an absurd amount of power at it, all of the available power plants are turbocharged, aside from the LS motor. While it may have been possible to downgrade the car to make it fit, I don't think it would have been a competitive vehicle. I then looked to the Fiat 131 to see if there was anything to work with. A centrifugal supercharger is on the menu, and the lack of rigidity courtesy of 60s Italian engineering should allow for enough headroom to make it competitive in a straight line. We threw parts and a baseline tune at it, then headed to the event to test our hypothesis. Our findings were disappointing but clear. The power-to-weight ratio, even in two-wheel drive form, was abysmal, and down the back straight the car struggled past 100 miles an hour. That, combined with mediocre grip and no other truly redeeming qualities, we were sent back to the drawing board. At this stage, I was contemplating building out the Celica for the second time in a month, but it occurred to me that I had one final option at my disposal: the nuclear option. If we wanted real results that didn't involve a Toyota, I would have to look towards the British. I didn't even look to see how much power the car had from stock. There isn't very much of it. There isn't very much of anything to this car, and that was kind of the idea when they designed it. It originally came with 10-inch wheels and tiny tires, and this is the key to abusing the PI system. Where we're going, we'll have barriers to help us navigate, and the long straights don't require any lateral grip. From experience, I know the Mini has issues dealing with drag, so to combat that, we threw in the 2.0 instead of one of the motorcycle engines. This should, in theory, help push the car through the air at higher speeds. This engine also allows for a centrifugal. We tossed a diff, suspension parts, and some other things at it, but the rally suspension probably isn't doing a much better job at keeping the car planted over stock, considering we don't have any added grip going to the pavement. It should be noted that the car was all-wheel drive swapped as well. It would have been stuck in D-class otherwise, and turning 60s rubber into a cloud of smoke was about the only thing it would have been good at. As expected, the Mini proved itself to be comically bad at turning, and surprisingly good at reaching comically high speeds. Higher speeds than previously thought possible. I tuned the car to tap out at 170, and there was more in it past that. Not something you'd want to attempt in real life, especially on tires that small. I usually run rally cars on very soft sway bars, typically between 0 to 10 in the front and 0 to 30 in the rear. The Mini was extremely wallowy, so I tested it with the sway bar set to maximum stiffness. The car was easier to drive and produced an overall positive result. Some fine tuning was needed for the diff as well. Setting the drive bias to 50-50 and giving the front more lockup than I'd usually recommend seemed to give the car better manners and helped it pull itself out of the dirt. As with most of the off-road builds, I got to a point where it felt good enough and called it. The off-road events tend to be chaotic, and the tuning returns are poor when everyone is trying to use the car ahead of them as a breaking point. There's always the feeling that a new tune isn't actually as fast as you think it is once you end up in an event. That feeling melted away pretty quickly. We ran up to the front of the pack, hit the brakes early to give everyone else a chance to see who was going to win the race, then flipped the switch and turned on the afterburners. I probably could have went around the corner like any rational human being and still ended up in front of the Peugeot, but the barriers are convenient, and more importantly, are the fastest way to make it around the corners when you have no tire grip. Even with the mystical difficulty modifiers, the trial opponents had no chance of keeping up. This was no doubt going to be one of the easiest trial events I've entered into, at least at an individual level. Unfortunately, while I was busy seeing how much of a lead I could put on everyone else, the rest of the team apparently wasn't having as much fun as I was. I didn't even realize it at the time, but we had actually lost the first race. Apparently a first and second place isn't enough to offset the people who came in at the back of the pack. The second race started much like the first, and while it had more curves to navigate, the barriers would keep us in check. We unsuccessfully tried to hop over the wall before shooting past the Celica in first place. We found the limits of what the car can do, and then some. While there is no damage penalty in Forza Horizon 6, that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences for bumping into things. This section of the track is unremarkable, but I managed to find a way to change that very quickly. Even after that, we were still comfortably in first, but I had blocked traffic and let by one of the faster cars in our group. Here, the car exhibits a bit of lift-off oversteer and tries to shoot me into the woods. We power out and ultimately take second place behind the blue Celica. I put the controller down and prepare to stop the recording before realizing that the event wasn't quite wrapped up. This time I had to lock in and block traffic if we were going to win. There's an added level of difficulty with the weather change, magnifying the instability of the Mini short wheelbase on the asphalt. On the bright side, the race starts on a gradual downhill curve, making it even easier to hook up and get past everyone. I can't say that bouncing the car off of both barriers was the fastest line, but it was effective enough. While I can prevent cars from passing me, I can't prevent my teammates from bumping me out of the way and letting them by. The blue Celica shoots into first place, but at the cost of opening the floodgates for the opposing team. If we were on dry pavement, this may not have been an issue, but the car struggled to find its footing on the wet gravel. Eventually we make it back in front of Lancia. We found ourselves in the perfect place to rocket back into first, but strategically this wasn't the move. This is where everyone else will gain the most amount of time. Most of the team figures it out, but a couple of cars are still stuck at the back of the pack behind opponent traffic. A Peugeot nearly takes me out at terminal velocity, missing me by inches and bouncing off of the barrier. We had enough points to win, but I don't like to leave anyone behind. I continued to hold up traffic for the other players on our team, despite the perceived lack of motivation. The final player eventually makes it past us, and so does one persistent Lancia. I almost forgot that I had the power to weight ratio of a Bugatti Veyron on tap in the midst of the chaos. Everyone, including me, finishes ahead of the trial opponents without any serious drama or vehicular carnage. While I do enjoy thinking outside the box when it comes to putting tunes together, this wasn't a very enjoyable week in terms of building the car or racing it. It feels like the only way to win this type of event is to throw something together with an ungodly amount of horsepower and pray that everyone else that's paired up with you has the same mindset. Is this supposed to be fun? Am I putting too much thought into this?